Man, oh man, it just seems to be happening everywhere, right? We got Utah, we got England, even Germany. You bail out, voters knock you out. That is playing out as the big theme as the midterm election season heats up. A fresh face with a very familiar name now trying to use that to his advantage. Republican Chris Nixon Cox. He's running for Congress in New York. He is President Richard Nixon's grandson. We've invited incumbent Democratic Congressman Tim Bishop on this show. We'll see what pans out there. Chris, good to have you.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
I think you're the first Nixon since Gramps to be
considered that's
a
right.
political run. Why?
Yes, I am. Well, you know, I run my own business, and I've seen a lot of the pressures that businessmen face, and a lot of them are put on us by the government. And I worry about overregulation. I mean, we just saw today that the Obama administration, some of the worst things they're doing is regulating businesses, throwing a whole bunch of new regulations on us. That's hard to take. I've also seen the bite of the tax man, and that worries me. We need to be cutting taxes, cutting the capital gains rate so the businesses can grow and create jobs. And that's not what the administration's doing, nor is the Congress doing that.
What do your mom and dad say about this?
Oh, my mom is such a big supporter of me. In fact,
really?
Yes, she is not only out doing campaign fundraising events, she's out in the district meeting with people with me. And it's
your
been
mom
a great
seemed
experience.
to be, despite the fact your dad was involved very much in the New York party, not apolitical, not anti-political, but just cooling on the political.
Absolutely, but she's very pro-family, and she really cares about the direction of the country and what's happening with the country, and she wants to do everything she can to help me.
All right, Chris, the district you're running for includes the Hamptons
yes.
in Long Island. For those not familiar, it's very tonier, very wealthier, but also has fishermen and lobstermen and that sort of thing. So it's fairly eclectic.
Yes.
So they're going to look at you and say, all right, what does he know about anything we're talking about?
Absolutely. And what I would say to that is, again, I've run a small business. I know what it's like to have to meet a budget. And I've worked under the constraints of the budget. And I'm going to say I wish the government would do the same thing. And that's what people are worried about. And what I'll say to the people of Suffolk County is I want to be an ambassador to Suffolk County. I ask people, how well do you know your Congressman, Tim Bishop? They don't know that much about him. We need someone who's going to go out and attract business to Suffolk County.
Well, they know enough about him that he's been reelected, what, 3 or 4 times?
3 or 4 times.
A Democrat in a largely Republican district.
Absolutely. Well, it's a 50-50 district. It's a swing district. And what people don't know is his support for some pretty liberal policies, raising taxes, the support of the health care bill.
So he voted for TARP, bailout, all that stuff.
And obviously the health care bill and cap and trade and sports cap and trade. Those are all things that are job killers. And that's what people care about. They care about job creation.
But do you think your name can also work against you, Chris, in that your grandfather was certainly a polarizing figure, and among New Yorkers, maybe not even a popular one?
You know what I would say to that is that I'm someone new with new ideas. And wherever I go, there are people who say, you know, I love your grandfather. He was a great figure. I admired him. But I want to hear what you have to say. And then they talk to me a little bit and hear about how I'm going to create jobs, how we're going to cut taxes. And they like me, and they like me for who I am. And I think that that's going to be a big part of our campaign.
You're just a few years younger than your grandfather was when he first
2 years younger.
Right? People forget how young he was
yes.
when he was running for office, how young he was when he was running for president. But the image was, and I'm sure they're going to try to foist this in any race going forward, that maybe you share his paranoia, maybe you share his Machiavellian.
Are you saying I look paranoid?
I don't know. You're not sweating. So
that's a plus.
What do you make of that? Is it a help or a hindrance, being a Nixon?
I think it's a big help. I think it's a big help. Like I said, there are a lot of people that really liked my grandfather, and even some of his biggest detractors would say that he was called one of us.
Do you think he was conservative or moderate?
I think that he was a mixture, and I think certainly on foreign policy he was a hawk, certainly against the communists.
Do you remember him well?
Very well.
You were 14, 15 when he died?
Very well, absolutely, very well. I remember we went to lots of baseball games together. We actually played basketball together, and I'll tell you something you might not know about him, but he had a mean shot from the top of the key.
But he liked the New York Mets.
Well, that shows the loyalty he has.
Now, in those wilderness years before he died, the picture you have is that he was a very bitter, angry guy. Did any of that bitterness or perceived anger spread to you, or that this is sort of the Nixon vengeance?
Absolutely not. In fact, I would say that his later years were marked by optimism for the country. If you saw Ronald Reagan when he gave some of his great speeches, he would have my grandfather's books behind him on foreign policy to show that he was in touch with the foreign policy world and was listening to people who knew about foreign policy. That was a symbol he had, and he courted, he went after my grandfather for advice. He wanted to hear what he had to say. Bill Clinton courted him for advice. So I think he was very much a player.
Bill Clinton was in office.
Absolutely.
Now, you are going to marry a Cavuto.
Yes, that's right.
A billionaire. Your fiance is a beautiful woman. Good dozen years younger than you.
Yes, absolutely.
Not counting. But is this a new political dynasty here? He's a big Democrat. He might run for mayor.
He may run for mayor. Actually, he's a Republican. So it's all on the right
side.
Right? He switched, but he has definitely a lot of Republican values, especially on the economy.
So would he be helping to finance your efforts?
He's absolutely been a big help in terms of helping people come into my campaign, helping with the Greek American community, helping raise money for my campaign. The Catsimatidis family has been a big help, and Andrea, I'm telling you, Andrea, she's the politician. She is great on the campaign trail.
But are we looking at a new political dynasty? Because they compare more to Kennedy's than they do Nixon.
Well, people get very excited seeing Andrea and me on the campaign trail. Andrea does a great job, and people, I think, are 3 times more likely to volunteer when they see her with me. So I take her everywhere I go.
All right, well, it's very good. Seeing my best wishes to you and the impending marriage.
Thank you very much.
And your mom and the family. Very good seeing you. Chris Nixon Cox, of course, our invite goes out to all those who oppose, fair and balanced. We thought it was interesting to see a Nixon run.